Goodness gracious, there's a whole lot shaking going on.
Hello, everyone. This is Niswander, and I knew this day was going to come. And I'd already done some content on the Nowman show and in blogs about Jerry Lee Lewis, but now this blog is about his passing on to the next world or whatever that is. And so I wanted to celebrate his life, remembering Jerry Lee Lewis and my experiences. I did get acquainted with him in the 90s. A friend of mine was his road manager for a while. And so I first met him, I believe it was Manhattan Beach. And I didn't make it to the show, but I was backstage and I didn't really formally meet him. So I think I formally met him backstage at the Forum. And it was Art LeBeau might have been there that night, I think. It was an oldies concert, and he and Little Richard were the headliners. And I don't know if they had to flip a coin or what they had to do, but they got the longest sets, I think, of the night. Bo Diddley was there, and I believe Martha Reeves or Darling Love. I can't remember. Um, and I did get a chance to actually meet Little Richard as well. I was backstage. If you've ever been backstage at a place where a basketball team plays, you realize that the dressing rooms have very high um, doorways, very tall. Um, and so I was kind of hanging out with Jerry and the band backstage after the show. James Burton, the guitar player, said to me that whenever Little Richard comes around, comes into the dressing room, two of them want to have a private conversation. They've known each other since they were kids, so we all have to leave. So I went out in the hallway with the band while Jerry Lee and Richard were having their conversation. Later on, I kind of wandered down the hallway and I noticed that out by the loading docks, Little Richard was out there with his crew. Someone gave me a book. It was a religious book of some kind, and it had a picture of Little Richard in it. I don't know what I did with that book. I misplaced it, but I had a headshot of Little Richard. But he did come up to me, and he was very mellow, not like he was in concert at all. And he just looked into my eyes, shook my hand, and said, "God bless you, young man." So my time with Jerry was kind of limited because my friend was involved with him in business, and I spent more time actually with the band. The time that I really got to talk to him more was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And at the time, I was not living in Indianapolis, but I was working in Indianapolis. So I was invited to stay in the suite that my friend had rented out for him and Jerry at the hotel. So I arrived at the hotel very shortly before Tim and Jerry arrived in a limousine. Jerry remembered talking to me, and I told him I was a preacher's son. And I was wearing a leather jacket. He was wearing a leather jacket. And he said to me, "I thought you said you was a preacher." And I said, "Preacher's son, Jerry. It's different." And "Oh yeah." Then, so I got to talk to him some in the suite, private conversations. And of course, he was there, getting ready for his gig the next day. And so then I was at the gig, and was backstage the whole time. Of course, got to see how all of that works. And I was given his suit coat to hold on to because during a performance he usually gets hot in his own suit coat. So then I gave it to him after the show was over. So I'm out walking around listening to the concert, and I ran into some friends of mine and talked to them in the audience and get backstage. So that night I had walked the band from the backstage area to the stage. So every time that I connected with the band or was at a Jerry Lee show, it seemed like that was one of the things that I would do, is just escort bands to the stage, the show. So that was something I guess that was just expected every time I showed up at a gig. And there's some things, Christian, I can't talk about, nothing to hide. It's just that it's not really something to talk about. That's not really what's important here. But I think the real momentous occasion was in Memphis. Back in Indianapolis, I don't know why I was late getting to the storage area at the hotel there. They had all the band's gear and my stuff and everything was put into a storage area, like so it had its own personal place once they checked out of the hotel rooms. And so I went to get my stuff, and the people at the hotel there in Indianapolis said, "Oh, everything was just taken with the entourage to the airport." And of course, they flew back to Memphis. And I thought, uh-oh. Well, fortunately, I knew that I was going to be going to Memphis in about 4 to 6 weeks to participate in a surprise party, basically, for Jerry Lee Lewis, his 60th birthday, and also to celebrate his 40th year in show business. So I knew I was going to be going to Memphis, and I would just get my stuff then. And I had a bag, standard stuff in it, clothing items and toiletries and things like that. And then I had a hanging bag, to wear a suit. I think I had a couple of suits, actually. One of them was this one. In Memphis, I stayed at the Peabody Hotel. That's where the concert was. And it was like I said, a surprise party. He just thought it was a regular gig that he was doing basically in his hometown, or what had become his hometown. He actually lived just across the county line in Soto County, Mississippi. He has a farm there, not a farm, but a ranch, I guess you could say. So Memphis was the city that he'd lived in since he was a kid. That area he lived in since he was a kid. Just as Elvis had, and a lot of people at that time, Carl Perkins. And of course, Johnny Cash was there. They all were, on Sun Records. At the show, I was backstage, and I was the youngest guy there, seemed to me. And at one point, there were people standing around talking, and I realized, hey, this is Sam Phillips. This is the DJ from the radio station that played all the Sun Record recordings, starting from the very first one, Elvis, That's All Right, Mama. There was the drummer of Bill Haley and the Comets. There was Jerry Lee's sister, Gail. There was Chris Christopherson, who flown there from Hawaii. He was working on a movie in Hawaii, and he flew there just to be there for that occasion. And they're all talking like about the old days, in Memphis and Sun Records and Jerry Lee, and I was just, wow. I was just like, wow. I didn't even know what I could add to the conversation. It was just great to hear them, talking. Obviously, they all haven't been together in a while, obviously, and it was just interesting to be there and to capture all of that. And then when the show started, of course, I escorted the band from the backstage area to the stage, and I stood at the back of the stage, not really behind the stage, but at the back of the stage. So I was kind of on the stage right behind the band. And I could see the audience and the ballroom. There was a piano even right there. And I guess it was a piano, just it was part of the stage setup because they had a separate baby grand for Jerry to play at the front of the stage.
Jerry, I've never done this before, but I have to do it tonight. We're having to stop the show because we got a big surprise for you, Jerry. You don't know what's going to happen. You think it's a concert, but it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your life, Mr. Jerry Lee.
I was actually standing behind James Burton. He was the person I probably talked to the most in the band. And he, of course, is a guitar legend himself. He played with Elvis, at the end of his career in the 60s. And he was one of the Wrecking Crew guitarists, did a whole series on the Wrecking Crew with the director of the film, Denny Tedesco, on the Nowman show. Denny definitely interviewed him for that film. I saw how he responded to Jerry. He didn't know what Jerry was going to play next, but he could just kind of tell, maybe from the first few chords, what Jerry was playing, what the song was. So these guys, James Burton, Kenny Lovelace, they just have so many songs in their head, because of all the gigs for so many years, right? Who knows how many songs that Jerry Lee has in his head? Probably at least 60 or 70, if not, probably many more than that. There was a screen, they pulled down a screen, and there were videos of his cousins, Mickey Gilley and Jimmy Swaggart, who were not there, but they were giving their greetings, and he was very polite as he sat at the piano, and he looked up at the screen, and he said, "Oh, that's nice. You're saying some nice things there, like, but if you really wanted to be here, you'd be here." And that's Jerry. That's Jerry Lee, just right to the point. And of course, people came and sang songs with him. Chris Christopherson actually sat at the piano with Jerry, and they did "Me and Bobby McGee," which of course Chris Christopherson wrote. Jerry had recorded that, as well as Janis Joplin and many other people. It was a great night. It was, if you've ever been to the Peabody Hotel, you go into the lobby and you see these ducks that there's just daily ritual where they go to the roof. They spend, their nights on the roof, I think, and then they come down, bring them down for a certain period of time to come down into the lobby of the hotel. It's an old tradition there. It's kind of interesting to see that, ducks in a hotel. And while I was there, the weekend I was there, my co-producers actually were part of the music festival. Wonder Drug, their band, was playing in a music festival. So for part of one night, I actually went down to that music festival and hung out with them. I didn't see any of the shows, but I did see through a window of the bar, I did see Tony Visconti, Bowie's longtime collaborator and producer, playing some kind of a set in a small little bar. That was kind of interesting. But for the most part, I was there, working with the Jerry Lee Lewis entourage. And I did go to Sun Records Cafe. Didn't go to the studio tour, but I did eat lunch one day at the Sun Records Cafe. And I did walk down Beale Street one day, went into the Five and Dime store that Elvis probably went into. This was Sunday morning, actually. And B.B. King's nightclub, they had gospel Sundays there on Sunday morning, the gospel music in the bar. So we checked that out for a moment. The concert, of course, as I said, it was This Is Your Life, Jerry. So it was kind of like telling the story and all these people in his life being there to talk about what had happened at that time. I hope somebody has a recording of that. I'd love to see it. This is a picture actually here of me and Jerry backstage at the Peabody Hotel. But I was in charge of all the memorabilia, all the gifts that he had received. And one of the gifts that he got was from his wife, which was a brand new Corvette. And he wanted Tim to drive the Corvette back to the ranch So they took off. I was left with the rent-a-car, and nobody really told me how to get to the Lewis Ranch. So here I have all this memorabilia from the evening, right, loaded into the car, and I've got to go to the Lewis Ranch. Fortunately, people up there at the hotel gave me some pretty good directions. At least I could get to, go across the county line and get to the village. So I did get to the village. There was maybe a convenience store, maybe a little restaurant. That's about it, right? Gas pump. And I was able, once I got, I got to at least to the village. So now I'm going to ask where specifically, how do I get to the Lewis Ranch? They told me what road to take and, how to get there. And when I finally got there, I saw that there was a pond and there was a really large wooded area next, and then there's the house. And 20 to 30 dogs or whatever started coming out of the woods and coming towards me. And I thought, uh-oh, what is this all about? And next thing I know, I got all these dogs all over my really nice Dockers, I guess it is. I had nice Dockers on. And there were dog prints all over them. And they were not biting me, but they were certainly competing for my attention. I never petted so many dogs at one time in all of my life. Quite an experience. And when I got into the house, I walked through the back door and a little family was there and everybody just kind of laughed. Jerry Lee was in his room. He's a very private person when he's home. He has his own room with a piano in it, a chair and for reading and that kind of thing. I didn't see that. That's the one room of the house I didn't see. And that's where he was. And he didn't come out to greet anybody because there was that particular day. I was there twice. So that particular day, that was not the first time I was there. It was the second time I was there. And families laughed when they saw all the dog paw marks on my legs, and like they said, "We see you met the dogs." So that was quite a experience. I'll never forget that. And the first time that I actually went to the ranch, when I first arrived there, there was a party or a gathering of the Jerry Lee Lewis International Fan Club. So there were quite a few people there, at least outside, and they were serving food and all this kind of stuff. And again, Jerry was very private. He stayed in his room, and so his wife was kind of, doing all the hospitality and all that kind of stuff for the guests. And and that's when we first arrived in Memphis, or at least when I first arrived in Memphis. And James Burton recognized me. He came up to me and he said, "Did you get your stuff?" And then I said, "Well, I got my clothes bag, or the bag with the not the hanging bag, but the general bag with my stuff, other clothes and toiletries and things like that in it. And I didn't get the hanging bag with this in it." And essentially, Jerry's wife said to me that your hanging bag came to the ranch. And Jerry Lee he took out this coat and he put it on and he said, "Hey, I think this fits me. And I'm going to keep this." And his wife said, "No, you are not going to keep that. That's not yours." And so Jerry Lee tried on this jacket. So I haven't worn it really very much. It's kind of it's a style that you don't see much anymore. As you can see, it's I don't know what you call it. I think this is corduroy. I don't know. I'm not a fashion expert, so I don't know that stuff. But the family room is where basically most of the family hangs out. There was a really nice white piano. I didn't play it. I'm only pretending to play it. Met Jerry Lee Lewis III, and he was quite the computer. Was already a very young kid. I think maybe 10, 11 years old, something like that. Jerry had two previous sons that had passed away. One that drowned in the pool, another that had a car accident on the country road there coming out to the ranch. And I think I know the place where he probably was driving too fast. Because I was driving maybe a little too fast myself on a sharp turn on the country road there out to the ranch. That's essentially the story of my experience with Jerry Lee. But I did get a chance to sing a few bars of Jailhouse Rock with him in the hotel before the show, Peabody Hotel in Memphis. And there's some things, conversations that we had in Indianapolis and Memphis that, you know, some interesting things that, you know, it's really nothing really to share that I, at least not now. Maybe I'll put it in a book later, but I will share this thing. He was out of the blue. He just said something about Fats Domino getting a Country Time lemonade commercial. He said, I really do drink Country Time lemonade. I don't know if he does or not. Why did he get, they didn't even offer that commercial to me. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, he's quite a character. And there was another time I didn't get to connect with him. He came to LA for a benefit that actually got canceled, which was kind of a sad thing. And he came all the way from Memphis, and the event got canceled. And so there's again another personal situation there I don't want to talk about, but I connected with his wife there. This is a pretty cool album here. The Last Man Standing album is one of, I think, 3 duet albums that he did. So many people wanted to do duets with him. Articles that I've seen, like New York Times and Variety magazine, pretty thorough. Although there's certain things that maybe not quite specific or correct. And he was a controversial figure, no doubt. I mean, he did some things in his lifetime that, you know, many of us would never do, obviously would never do. But there's a lot that, you know, we don't understand, right? And different cultures, different things that, you know, who are we to be judgmental? And I think he said at some point in an interview that, you know, he knows he is not perfect, and the good Lord will be his judge. So he's got a hilarious sense of humor, and you know, he's, you know, he and Little Richard both have at least this stage persona that's a little ornery. But you know, behind closed doors, I mean, there's also that mellow part and good sense of humor, and let alone, you know, in such a talented position. So I'm thankful for those opportunities to be able to talk to him, interact with him, and members of his band, who also, you know, knew and worked with people like Elvis Presley, John Denver, and Roy Orbison, to name a few. So I do know that at the time I wrote a couple of songs kind of in the vein of 1950s, and particularly Jerry Lee Lewis's style on the piano. And one was a rock and roll and one was a ballad. And I have demos of those songs. Well, Jerry Lee heard the demo of the rock and roll tune, which is Scream. And my friend Tim was telling me they were listening to it in the car one day, and it was as if Jerry, he could recognize what was going on in the song and was like kind of critiquing it, but in a very positive way. So hearing that was very special to me too, that Jerry Lee got to give this song. It was kind of written with him in mind. And so what I'm going to do to end this tribute now is to say again, Jerry, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the music. It changed my life. It changed a lot of people's life. A lot of great musicians in rock and roll pop music since your time cite you as one of their greatest influences, and I have to say you have to be included in that for me as well, because it's also a personal experience and not just a musical one that's personal. And that makes it even more special. So thank you, and all my love to the family and to all of his friends who worked with him and loved him dearly. Thank you also to Tim for opening that door of opportunity for me on several occasions, because it is one of those memorable experiences in life. And Tim himself is an interesting character. He has done some stunt work. He also, if you've seen the Incredible Hulk television show, and in the intro part, you see Lou Ferrigno, and then you see someone in the middle transitioning with the shirt coming off, and then it ends with Bill Bixby. Tim is the one in the middle with the shirt ripping. He also was one of the henchmen of Khan in the Wrath of Khan movie, the Star Trek movie, Ricardo Montalban. He's done a lot of different unusual things, and good friend. Oh, but before I forget, I got a couple of other things I need to show you here. This is a tie he signed. Thought it was a unique idea to have a tie with, you can see there's hands on the keyboard there too, which is kind of cool. And he signed it right in the middle there. This is something you don't see very often. It's a real royalty check from Sun Records, 1958. $2,500 was a lot of money then. Keep on rocking. Stay present in the moment. Always.
Ooh, baby, when the show is over, I'll take it backstage, then we'll go to my room. I can still rock and roll, you know I can. But when it comes to pleasure, I'm a handyman, and sometimes I just wanna be your fan and watch the show. She came to scream, create a scene, 'cause she knows I treat her right through the day and to the night. That's a scheme. She came to scream, her usual routine. Dream come true, I'll satisfy it too, know what I mean? She knows I treat her right through the day and to the night. That's a scheme. She came to scream, her usual routine. A dream come true, I'll satisfy it too, know what I mean? A dream come true, I'll satisfy it too, know what I mean?